What's up, everyone? This is the Law Rare Mundo, and welcome back to another edition of the Law's Roundtable numero 7. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are on episode 7, and again, we are doing the Hispanic Heritage Month here on the channel, so we're trying to respect the cultura, we're trying to represent the cultura here, and I brought another hermano of mine. Guest, can you introduce yourself?
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Danny Nemesis.
There we go, guys. As you saw in my left corner there, I had an amazing logo there. Danny, I know him from wrestling, yes, but the guy does some amazing artwork, and you're definitely going to see that a lot on this episode. I'm going to be showing a lot of his artwork here because it's great stuff that he does, and again, this is what I like to see from our culture is that we do a lot of different stuff to just show out what we can do. The creativity is here, guys. So, but Danny, how's it been, man? How you hanging with this pandemic that we've been in?
Dude, it's crazy, bro. It's like, it's not, I feel like everything was taken from me. It's like, you know, obviously no wrestling for a while. It just like recently came back. I'm a huge like music fan, so there went my concerts, you know, everything was just, but we're hanging on, taking it day by day, you know, it is what it is, trying to make the best of it, staying busy with the art, you know.
No, I get you, man, and definitely I've felt that, like, especially like being in wrestling, like we had show after show after show, and once this started, it was like cancellation, and especially now during the summer, it's like I'm a big music head too, and I was like, shit, last year I just started getting into like going to summer concerts, because I feel like during the summer you get some of the best concerts. Like you get the summer jams, you get like there's a whole like reggaeton, you get everything. So it's like I was like, okay, I'm ready to do it again, and it's like cancellation. I'm like,
yeah, it felt like a rug being like swept out of our feet, you know, like it was so sudden too, like all of a sudden everything's gone.
Yeah.
And then like a week later it's like, oh yeah, but by the way, you guys have to stay indoors too. Like, oh man, what?
Yeah, I feel like it's like we in New York though, we didn't get hit as hard with that. Like we were told, oh, you should be recommended to stay indoors, but I don't feel like we obliged that as much. Like, at least as we should have.
Good instruction followers.
Like, I feel like California definitely was strict. No, we definitely are. We're not like, we're not to the T of like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna follow A to Z. No, I'll maybe follow A, B, C, but don't expect me to follow the rest.
Like, yeah, that's too many letters in the alphabet.
Like, I feel like California got a lot worse than we did, though I feel like we were worse in cases. Like, that's what made me so paranoid, because it was like, yeah, this looks like we're...
And then knowing loved ones that are passing away and everything, you know, that for me was probably the hardest part. You know, I did lose a family member, so that, you know, along with like everything else, that just kind of put the icing on the cake, you know, like it's been rough, you know. A lot of people choose to not see it that way because it's not, you know, for whatever reason, really, it's not, but it's been tough, you know, and it's crazy, dude.
No, yeah, I can imagine, man. I'm sorry about that.
By the way, excuse my iced coffee, it's like almost 9 p.m. and my coffee addict is drinking coffee.
It's all good. I'll stick to the water just because I've started this week. Like, I have so much content I'm creating, but I'm like, yeah, this might be the best week to try to quit caffeine. So yeah, let's see how that goes.
You know, that is an actual goal I'm trying to have also, just for health reasons.
Yeah.
And but I gave myself a date though, so till that day I'm drinking coffee.
Yeah, I feel like with me though, I think the caffeine, I think the biggest thing I look at it is maybe the other caffeinated beverages that I drink, that I'm trying to stray away from that. Because coffee, I feel like it's in my blood already. Like that's gonna be a hard like.
Yeah, we're Latinos. We drink coffee, bro.
Like that's gonna be a hard one to take fully out. But like the sodas, the energy drinks,
probably gonna be.
That's gonna be the stuff that I definitely have to take out. Cause everything else, like
coffee,
yeah, but it's hard to.
Our grandma's been giving that since we were like 5, man. Like,
bro, legit. I remember the other day I saw a meme about, oh, if you didn't have like café con pan dulce at like 4, you didn't have childhood. I'm like, shit. So it wasn't just me.
No, it was all of us, bro.
Oh man,
that shit. We were all drinking coffee at like the age of 2. Café Bustelo. Shout out to Joe K.
Oh man. I think that's gonna be the next sponsorship for Hoke is just the Café Bustelo in a can.
Café Bustelo.
Like him and Richard Holiday, they're both looking for that Café Bustelo sponsorship. Oh man,
I think we all are.
Hey, if
they're just more vocal about it. But we all wish we had a life supply of Café Bustelo.
Man, I was just at Target today. I was like, ooh, Café Bustelo. Shit, I'm trying to stop caffeine. Okay, put it back. Like, but yeah, man, this whole pandemic, I feel like it's just been that though, like creating micro goals to at least feel like you're accomplishing something. Because I feel like that's been the sad part. Like
that's all.
Everything has been like taken away, so it's like, okay, I gotta find from nothing. I have to find something. Like this channel for me, I feel like I've rejuvenated the channel here, and I've started to do, especially this series, because I was like, I want to do something, create some type of positivity out there. I have a bunch of great friends that have great conversations we could have. I'm like, why not do something when there's literally nothing else to do, sadly? Like, this is...
You know, it's funny that you mentioned the micro goals and everything, because that's something I've been trying to do. And the funny thing is that you know, I've been trying to do like personal artwork because, you know, before the pandemic hit, all I was doing was like wrestling commissions, you know, whether it was designing gear, designing merch. And with this pandemic, I was like, no, I need to do my stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like I might as well reveal it here in your show, dude. Like, I started a comic book.
Ooh.
Like, I was writing it for a very long time. But I actually told myself if I don't do it now that I have a lot more time, I'm never going to do it. And, yeah, that's something I've actually been trying to, like, work on heavily. And along with, like, other minor projects, but that one is, like, the one that I'm actually trying to, fulfill the most, because that's something I've always wanted to do, being like the biggest comic book head ever. And yeah, that's like the pandemic. I guess that's like the good that's come out of it, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I can't wait to see the final product. And I guess there you go, guys, a little exclusive here for the Roundtable. So stay tuned. But like I was saying earlier, like the artwork is something I definitely know you for. I've seen some great artwork. I'm going to show you guys now just a sneak peek. I'm going to show you something here. We're going to keep showing later on some more artwork. But here's one that I found like just crazy, was a Ninja Turtles inspired one here. Just seeing like, man, it's insane. Like it's great artwork, and it's something that I feel like it has that graffiti background that I know you have that's different. I feel like everyone tries to bring the comic strip art, and you definitely do something that's out of the box. Like very, very New Yorker though. It's very New York style, and you can definitely see it in your artwork, and it's great, man. So definitely, guys, look at this artwork piece here. Definitely, if you guys need artwork, definitely hit this man up. This guy does amazing stuff. Definitely even does graphics. You do logos too, right? You do all that, all the stuff. So definitely hit him up, because just look at this here. More artwork will be shown in the episode. Just stay tuned, guys. But no, definitely, man. Like I have to, again, that's why I said, like, I created this show because I wanted to have these conversations, but I just want to put over my friends. Like, why not? Why not?
Yes, that is something. That's a lost art, man. Like, so many of us, like, even like in the industry, outside of the industry, there's so many of us that are doing crazy stuff. Like today, I saw that Sophie, she does the photography for like all these wrestling shows. She was in the New York Times, bro. Like, that's a big deal to me, you know. Like, it's like her work and it's always like your friends grow.
Yeah, that to me it's great. And also, I think I definitely have to speak to her soon because out of the whole community, there's not many Ecuadorians in wrestling. And Sophia is definitely one of those only other ones. Like, I think in wrestling, sadly, it's just me, it's Hoke, it's Sophia, and Violet from Hawk.
Violet,
Rest in peace, Maddie
Hog,
as well was Ecuadorian. Not many people knew. I did, and it's sad to still think. This is why, like, there's a picture. Then again, I'm glad if we finally were able to do it. I would have never expected, though, that would be the last picture I take with him. Was all of us with the flag.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned the picture and all that, like being the last picture you took with him. Share a story.
No, yeah, of course. This is what we're here for.
You remember when he did the Freddy Krueger face paint?
Yeah.
The Freddy Krueger entry.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put myself over a little bit, but I was the one that did his face paint for that entrance.
Ooh.
And I almost didn't make it. Yeah, I almost didn't make it. I was running late, and I remember Santana and Ortiz were having their match. Like, they had just started their match when I showed up. I was rushing and everything, and Maddie and Monte were gonna have their match after that match. That's how little time we had. Like, whatever time frame Santana and Ortiz had for their match, that's how much time I had to paint his face. And we did the thing. Excuse me. We finished. I rushed to the crowd. He's doing his entrance and everything. It was cool shit. Him and Monte killed it. And after that, I had an extra Bruiser Brody shirt. You know, the shirt that I designed.
Oh, you mean this shirt right here? And yes. Cheap segue. Boom. There you go, guys. I think this shirt has just been, like, shared around so much, too. Like, there you go, guys. Look at this shirt. You've possibly seen it all over Twitter. Like, even, I think Danny Cage wore it the other day at his school. And, like, I love this shirt. Like, it's iconic right there. But, not to cut you off, back to the story.
So the funny thing is, whatever, we went, I gave him a shirt, I gave him a big hug and everything, told him he had a good match, you know, the usual. He wore it right away. He's like, dude, we need to take a picture, because I was wearing mine. And we took that picture, and that was the only and last picture I took with Maddie. Which, you know, I'm glad I almost didn't make it, and I made it, and, you know, it was such a good moment, you know. We were going to take one with Joke, which is funny. Like, we were planning it. Like, yeah, we're going to take one, like, you and I. And then, oh, Joke. But then, I don't know what happened. Maddie had to go. And then I tell Joke, bro, we never took the picture. But, yeah, that was the only picture I have with Maddie.
Yeah.
It's him supporting. He's always a big supporter.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you know, rest in peace, Maddie.
Yeah, man. Again, I feel like, hey, it happens, you know? Like, it what's meant to be. Like, it's crazy with that picture. I feel like I definitely have to tell this story again when I have Hoke on. But I guess it was just really meant to be that night because we were trying to plan that for multiple shows. Like, we were like, oh, when we finally all get together, I have a flag, let's do it. And it would be like, oh, one of us would be missing. Oh, one of us left early. One show, I was like, okay, let's do it. But then I had to get out of there. I had to do something. And that last show, it was like, it just all fell into place. And Maddie's like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. And Maddie wearing, like, only something that Maddie could wear. Because he was sporting something that was like, no one could pull off but Maddie. Like, Maddie wore stuff that was like that. And it's like,
that only Maddie wore, bro, like the fur coat.
Like, man, that fur coat,
I miss that so much, bro.
Same, man. Like, I feel like if anything during this pandemic has definitely shown we have to continue our goals Because that's what Maddie would have wanted. Maddie wanted everyone to succeed. Maddie wanted everyone to make it. And whatever making it means to you, though. Like, I feel like that's the biggest thing that we all have to look at is make it in whatever you feel like you mean. Like, it's not, oh, with this person's goal, you have to achieve that. No, achieve what you have to do, and it's whatever lane you have to do. Like, that's how we should look at it. But yeah, so that's how I feel like Maddie would have wanted, and that's how I continue to do this. But again, that shirt, though, I feel like even the biggest thing I can imagine for you is having Homicide wear it. I can only imagine. Oh, here we go.
Because it was his idea.
Oh.
Yes. So, another story, I guess.
Hey, if you want to share, it's okay. You're not forced to. It would be nice though. Exclusives. No, exclusives.
Yeah. So, like, we were talking about, obviously, what else can you talk about with Homicide that's not wrestling, right? So we were talking about, like, because obviously, I'm not only like a fan of the current stuff. I love the older stuff. I'm a huge Bruiser Brody fan, and that happens to be Homicide's favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
And both from Brooklyn, and we were talking, like, he was giving me props about my graffiti and stuff. We were talking about, the environment, wrestling. He was like putting me on some like old school wrestlers that I should check out, because I'm probably one of the only non-workers that studies wrestling. I actually like watch techniques and shit, like if I'm ever gonna do them, right? And so we were talking about Bruiser Brody and the whole like the tragedy, how he passed and everything. And then he's like, bro, you imagine like you do a drawing of Bruiser Brody wearing a Biggie crown? And I started laughing. I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty fun. And I was like, wait, I should do that. Like, and I did it, I drew it up, and I showed him, actually get you so you can sell these shirts. I was like, dude, you would do that? Like, you serious? He goes, yeah, he goes, I mean, of course, he's Homicide. He could do that, right? And, yeah, he got back to me. He's like, yeah, bro, it's green light. And, yeah, we printed it. And I remember debuting that shirt. Like, the first time I started selling those shirts was in the Homicide tribute show, the GCW show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And, yeah, and, he got me in. He got me a little spot, a little corner to put the shirts up, and they were selling like fucking hotcakes, dude. Like, it was overwhelming for me because I've never sold that amount of merch, like, ever. Like, I was like, oh my god. And then of course, he wore it, and and a couple of other people wore it too. Like, I remember MB Young did a promo with it, and Gone did a promo with it. And then people just started asking, hey, do you still have that shirt or whatever? Like, there's been people that walked past me wearing that shirt, and they probably don't even know I'm the one that did it. Like, that's the funny thing of that shirt. And it's like, yeah, you know what? It's cool. It's humbling, A lot of cool people have it. I gave some to some people, like Maddie. I think I gave one to Santana. Like, a lot of people have that shirt, dude. And it's like one of my proudest projects that I've ever done. And it was a coincidence, something that started off as a joke. Like, it was just, freaking Bruiser Brody with a Biggie crown.
Hey, it's an iconic shirt, because I feel like it's so different that's like you have to have it. Like, I remember I think it was an IWA show that I saw you that I was like, I gotta pick one of these up finally, because it was like every time I would like want to buy it, I would never catch you, because it's like you were always at a oh man, I almost said his shoot, Evander James's table. And yeah. I was like, oh, it's always his merch. I'm like, I want that shirt though. So I finally caught you at IWA. It's a great shirt though. Definitely, guys. Yeah. Like, again, look at what he could pull off though. Like, he's done that. He's also like, I should have put up I had pictures of it. I forgot to put it onto this, but you've also done some ring gear. Like, you don't just do the graffiti style artwork. You don't just create logos like that, but you've also done artwork for ring gear that includes, like I mentioned, Evander James and even Casey Navarro.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of hog guys, like gear designs. I don't know if you've seen Smiley's mask, the one with the skeleton in the mask.
Yeah. The new Face of Chaos
the
one.
recent one that he wore. Yes, that's my design. Mantequilla's silver gear, like the last 2 gears that he's done, like the full mask one and just the normal silver gear, I designed that for him as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, dude, I've done stuff for people like from guys, for all the hog guys. I did I mean, it's not much of a gear design, but I did do a design for Homicide that he wore at freaking Bound for Glory, which was pretty cool.
That was the old man Logan one, right? That you did?
Old man Logan, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
And, I've done merch really just for Santana and Ortiz and their Impact run. But yeah, dude, like gear's fun for me. Like I like that because it, like, growing up I used to play, games like every other fan did, and was creating a character and all that stuff, and that's what designing gear felt like, because once you did a design and it came out and they got it made and you actually saw it in the ring, it's like, holy shit, I designed that. It's just humbling to be able to do.
Yeah. No, I can imagine it's something just to see your final product. And it's funny, like some of the designs you've done, I've actually made like in 2K. I'm like, okay, I look at how you did certain little things, and I looked at, like, especially for the Evander James one, I looked at your sketch, because that to me was the easiest to be like, okay, I want to match this, I want to match that. And again, guys, like, the artwork is insane. I have to ask though, like, especially if we put over so much of the artwork, what made you begin that? Like, what started like the pencil to paper in a sense?
Oof. It's funny, somebody asked me that question not too long ago. It's a combination of a lot of things, but if we're gonna go like the earliest memory I have, like, you have to understand, I've been drawing since I can remember, dude. Like, I remember kindergarten just drawing Super Mario, Dragon Ball Z, that type of thing. But I think what made me really start doing artwork is my dad. So my dad and I never really had a close relationship. We don't necessarily always see eye to eye, but I guess it there's just things that run in your blood, right? And he used to have a sketchbook that I mean, it wasn't amazing artwork, it was just something that he did while he was bored. My dad is a farm guy. Like, he comes from literally middle of Mexico somewhere. So he used to do a lot of like sketches of like horses and like flowers and shit. And I would just like pass by, like, just being a little kid, and just, what's this guy doing, like, and I would see these drawings, and like, they weren't good, but at the time, when you're a kid, you see this, you're like, holy shit, like, this is cool, like, and I would ask him, how do you do that? And I would never forget, he told me something that, even though I don't see eye to eye with the guy, I will always thank him for telling me this. He goes, anything you can imagine, you can draw. And to this day, that shit is just mind-blowing. It's a mind-blowing thought process, because it's like, I can legit draw anything I want. And obviously, I took that to heart, and the drawing began, dude. Obviously, it's like everything. Graffiti was a whole different ball game. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be like the genesis of the whole Danny does art journey, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. And I feel like that's a big metaphor for even life, because that's something like in wrestling we're told like, hey, if you could really think about what you want to put out there, 9 times out of 10 you'll probably be able to do it. Like, you just have to work at it. Like, you've seen, especially, like, we've seen some crazy moves, and it's like, you have to think about it first. Like, you just go out there and be like, yeah, I'm going to hit this, like, 720 something. Like, no, you think about it first. You start thinking, is this going to work? Can this connect? And boom.
Will I survive it?
That's the biggest thing. Will I survive?
Yes.
Will I survive in there? And hey, that has to be the same mentality for artwork, because you have to think, will it come out okay? And again, like, you've seen guys, the artwork here, and man,
you know, that's probably like my biggest concern every time I do any form of artwork. Like, can I pull this off? Like, you know, like, especially when it comes to, like, commissions, like, somebody approaches you and they'll tell you, like, hey, I want this, I want that, I would like this color, that color, see if this works, see if that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then, you know, can I pull that off, you know? And, but it goes with everything. Yeah, absolutely. Wrestling, anything. You name it.
I guess that leads me to my question, though. Do you still fear failing with your artwork after so many years?
Yes, all the time, till this day. I'm not okay. So this is another thing. Like I appreciate you putting my artwork over and everything. I am never satisfied with anything I.
But I feel like that's that's everyone with whatever their passion is. Like, trust me. Like, I'll put this. I'll put this podcast, this episode of the show out. I tried not to call it a podcast. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like everyone does a podcast. I try to not create that same format, because I feel that's the thing. Like, everyone puts out this format, but it becomes so generic to me. That's why, like, to me, I'm never satisfied changing it. I'm never satisfied, like, not putting something else in there, putting a twist. And to me, it shows that, again, like, you're never satisfied with whatever you're doing, because you feel like, I can get better, I can do something better, I can. It's never not a learning experience, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's something I struggle with all the time, like, when it comes to my artwork, because I'm not the first guy that does, you know, t-shirts. I'm not the first gear designer. I'm not the first guy to do graffiti, especially in New York City, right? Like, I'm not the first guy to, you know. What was that?
I said, what do you mean you're not the first graffiti designer? Man.
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, dude, and it's like, you know, you see everybody else and you see a lot of people do, like, mind-blowing stuff. And then you're like, oh yeah, here's my crap, you know? So it is a struggle. I do struggle with that all the time. Like, I'm never ever satisfied. But the good thing is that it pushes me to try to get better, which is always the plus.
That's how you have to be, man. You got to make sure as long as you're feeling it, you're getting that good vibe from it, then continue doing you, man. Continue doing you. So my next biggest thing, again, like I said, this whole month, I'm going to be trying to do the Hispanic heritage, trying to, again, represent La Cultura, as we are both, again, Latinos in this crazy world of professional wrestling. So I gotta ask, in your opinion, though, how do you feel about our culture in this business? Like, your thoughts
in wrestling.
If it's wrestling, even in art, because again, you have an answer for both. So your thoughts on either one or both?
Oh man, I mean, I can go forever. Well, I mean, I guess I'll start with wrestling, because that's, you know, the thing that we're all, like, you know, involved with the most, and it's just super humbling to see, like, the Latino culture do so well in wrestling today. Like, I remember a few years ago, like, the only thing everyone was watching was the WWE.
Yeah.
See, me, my first exposure to pro wrestling was lucha libre, like actual Mexican lucha libre.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I first saw before WWE and everything. And that's probably why I have, like, a fondness for masks. I love lucha masks so much. But at the time, you know, everyone was only watching WWE. and we had Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero. Like that was like the two names everyone knew, like mainstream wise.
Yeah.
You know, unless you started digging deep into like the indies and stuff, which not a lot of people at the time were doing. And now it's just really awesome to see so many Latino names on TV now. Like in like every show you go to, you're gonna see at least five Latinos. You know?
Definitely.
And especially, you know, of our own, you know, Santana and Ortiz are killing it on TV every week. You know, and it's you know, I feel that as a culture we've grown in pro wrestling like immensely to the point where you know, we see people like us, you know, inspire the younger generation to one day say, hey, I want to do that, you know, whether, and it's not just, you know, in the ring, outside, you know, like for example you mentioned earlier, you know, yourself, we have Joe K, we have Sophie, you know, doing the photography, Joe K doing the gifs, you know, and there's just so many people that are a part of wrestling, you know, that we grew up, you know, not knowing that, you know, one day we can do something to, you know, contribute.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I never thought I was ever going to be a part of the industry at all. Like and I was just wishing, I was telling myself, what can I do that's useful? All I do is draw. And then, you know, the first person who gave me a shot was Evander James. And you have no idea how many guys need somebody to just sketch something out for them. Like they'll have an idea, but they can't put it on paper. And if they can't put it on paper, they can't get it made. And, you know, that just like one thing to another. And, you know, I just feel that we're growing as a culture. It's very humbling to see. It's humbling to see champions, you know. You know, I remember like the huge pop when Eddie Guerrero won the WWE Championship, you know, like everyone was like, holy shit, you know. It's not, you know, the usual type of look, you know, this time it's a Mexican, you know, and then all of us Mexicans are like, oh, you know. And, so it's a good thing. And then I feel like in art's just very weird because art's everywhere, you know, like in the industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like where I can relate the most to Latinos doing artwork would be my graffiti background. A lot of the guys I would hang out with at the time were Latinos, you know, from different cultures, whether they were metalheads like myself or, you know, just like everybody was just getting together in one spot and just doing, you know, artwork, graffiti related. And I feel that there, I guess, in the art industry, us Latinos, we've been kind of doing it since forever. You have icons like Frida Kahlo, you know, Diego Rivera, to, you know, the guys that are killing it today. And, you know, I feel like as a Latino, I have a lot of catching up to do because all these guys that have been doing it since forever are great. And I personally don't consider myself great, but I would like to one day consider myself great in that level. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you mentioned earlier, you know, us trying to fulfill our goals. That's the goal I'm trying to fulfill.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm definitely like, you know, proud of. It's like as a Latino, I'm doing things that it's sometimes dominated by other cultures, other races. Definitely. And, you know, I try to wear all the hats I can to give as much as I can, like to contribute, you know, make sure everybody, that's something I always say. I want all my friends to make it, you know, like whether it's you, whether it's the guys in the ring, guys backstage, you know, I see guys like for example, Santana and Ortiz, they've been killing it since forever now, and it's still cool because, you know, those are our guys, you know? Like,
no, and it is like that. Like, imagine like them. We saw them from the wrestling in the Bronx at Darrow's as EYFBO, and it's like, look at them now. Like, there were two guys that people don't know. Their original gimmick started as a parody of LMA FAO. Remember that band? That's showing our age just a little bit. That was a thing back in the day. Like,
I hated that group.
I didn't mind it. Like, it wasn't my type of music, but hey. But that was the original, like, idea for them. They did a parody of that, and they grew into the more rugged Team Pazuzu style EYFBO. Into then, years later, they became LAX, and now they are proud and powerful, killing it on AEW. And we've gotten to see them grow. And to me, again, this shows that you never know what your start is going to lead to. And I feel like as Latinos, I feel like we work as hard just to get our foot in the door. To see the Latinos actually succeed is amazing. Like you mentioned, like who would have thought like us getting to even be in wrestling? Like again, I could remember, I've watched wrestling. I want to say my earliest memories are like 3 years old. And even then I was like joking around like, oh, I want to be a wrestler one day. I want to be a wrestler one day. Years later, I can say I've been trained. I've gotten to train with some of the best out there. Who would have thought, again, like when back in the day, there was no social media. Now I've been a social media analyst for professional wrestling companies, working for some of the best promotions out there, and still learning to this day how to do more creativity for them, being a content creator for a lot of companies. And again, it's showing that we can make our mark and we can make something out of it. And again, being Latinos, we try to work even harder because we weren't meant to do stuff like this. As much as like we're great and we're as orgulloso of it, a lot of people didn't expect it out of us. A lot of people expected, again, this is a very Americanized sport as well. Like wrestling is something that lucha libre, we can like, that's Latinos. Lucha libre, you could see that. But professional wrestling, that is a more Americanized sport in a sense.
Yeah, especially like the mainstream aspect of it. Because unless you lived in Mexico, lucha libre is not, or at least years back, it wasn't something that you can easily access unless you really knew which Spanish channel, which days to.
Oh man.
Yeah, I remember. Like honestly, that's how I ran into it. Again, you know, it's funny how my dad is responsible for a lot of the shit that I'm into by mistake. Everything is just by mistake. Cause he's a big like action, like you know those really really bad kung fu movies. My dad loves that shit. Yeah, he loves it. And I remember he was looking for one. I remember he's like, I want to see some Bruce Lee movies. Flipping through like the 30 channels we had at the time, and he just couldn't find anything that interested him. And the closest thing he got was Lucha Azteca and Galavisión.
Oh man,
which, you know,
I remember watching Galavisión. I want to say, or when I was younger, it was like channel 68 around that time. Yeah. And it's the most like random channel that then you're like, oh, like it's okay, and you just watch.
But then they had Lucha Libre, dude, like, which is like, to me, I was always a comic book fan, like ever since I can remember, like superheroes and shit like that. And I think the closest thing that I got to superheroes was luchadores with them, you know, the masks, the colors, they were flying, they were doing flips.
I think that's why I love Lucha Libre. And especially like I've had some friends like Monte, like you mentioned earlier, Smiley. They are like real life superheroes in a sense, and I think that's what brings that love for Lucha Libre, especially to me as well. Is that it's like you're getting to see a real life comic book. You're getting to see something that's like it's a real. It's like I love Marvel, I love DC, but Lucha Libre gives you that real like.
Yeah, these guys are real, man.
and they're flying. Like the moves they do, like it's funny watching guys like, oh man, I don't know if you've seen El Vicano or Viking Jr. I think they call him here in the States.
El Hijo de Vikingo, dude. That guy needs to come to the US ASAP.
Yeah. I think it was with Impact for a bit. And they kept calling him Viking Jr. Yeah, I'm like, that's not his name. Like
but I mean, I can't blame him because, you know, unless you're fluent in Spanish, Hijo de Vikingo is a mouthful, like, to be honest. But that kid's amazing. Like, he's super young too. Like, I think he's like 23-ish, and that guy does like second rope everything, and super underrated guy, dude. Like if like anyone that's watching this, go on YouTube and type in "Hijo de Vikingo." You'll not be disappointed. The guy's just amazing, and yeah, like and he's just not the only one. Like Lucha Libre has so much hidden talent that literally the past few years they've been coming out. Like we have like Pentagon and Phoenix, and Lucha Underground did a lot of people a lot of favors, by the way. Wasn't around, a lot of these guys wouldn't be on TV right now.
This is true. Like I feel like a lot of people talk of the negative about of Lucha Underground, but I feel like it gave so much positive because it gave a light to wrestling that, again, if you're not a hardcore fan, you wouldn't have known about. Like the Latino community probably knew about guys like Pentagon and knew about Phoenix and knew about that era of wrestling, or that style of wrestling, I should say. But you wouldn't have seen them in mainstream media like this. Like imagine Lucha Underground gave them the segue to be able to get to boom PWG and boom Impact. Like it was like that, and even like a guy like Brian Cage, who again we're trying to get to the Latino side, but hey, Brian Cage showed like a monster there, and now he's on AEW.
Yeah.
So I give Lucha Underground as that form of like, hey, this is what Lucha Libre is. It really is like the metaphor of it because it's underground. It's hidden. Like, you don't get to find it as much. Now, AAA is more mainstream. You get to see mainstream, but that's not the best Lucha Libre out there. There's still some more stuff that you guys have to do your research, really find like the up and coming Lucha Libre, and you'll get like just in awe. Your mouth will be open just watching the stuff they can do. Like everyone loves like American style like flips. Like guys like Alex Zane, like Ben Carter, like Blake Christian, but it's like watch the guys in Mexico. See what they're doing right now, and you'll be like, Alex who?
Like I feel like luchadores like in Mexico, they do some really insane flips. I saw this GIF of a really old Lucha Libre mask where the guy, he hit a moonsault. Like it was a moonsault, and somehow it ended in like a frog splash. Like I saw the GIF like a billion times. I sat there watching that GIF, just seeing how the hell he did that transition. And he wasn't a big name or anything. It was just like one. Because here's the thing about some luchadors, they'll change their name and their mask a billion times before they settle for one.
Oh, definitely.
Like, your favorite luchador probably already did it, Rey Mysterio was once El Colibri before he became Rey Mysterio Jr., like, and this GIF, honestly, I'm telling you about the GIF, I don't know who did it. But that move was so, like, mind-blowing to me, like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like, what did he just do? Like, that was awesome. Let's replay
I'm trying to think about, like, how, I guess maybe trying to do a Phoenix Splash, like, maybe, but even then, you're still, like, it was
so cool, like, it looked like a moonsault. He legit hit the backflip.
And then landed in a frog splash, though.
Somehow to hit, like, a frog splash. It was, if I find it, I think I retweeted it. And, like,
I gotta see this, like, because I'm, like, trying to, like, picture how it would work. But again, see, that's how it is. He probably thought about it 100 times, like, I gotta hit something. I gotta make something that's gonna be memorable. Because again, that's how it is, like, in whatever it is, in wrestling, in art, you create stuff that's gonna be memorable. Because that's what sets you apart.
I remember, going back to Homicide, he was telling me how back in the day, we didn't have, YouTube and stuff, when he was starting off, like in Ring of Honor and stuff, like early Ring of Honor. And he was saying that what guys were doing was, how can I do some crazy shit to have somebody talk about it and tell their friends, like, man, I just saw Amazing Red do this really cool move that he calls the Code Red. like, and like they were just trying to outdo each other,
Yep.
and at the same time just doing like the biggest fan service ever, and having people like eventually trading DVDs or VHS tapes at the time, and just really talking about it. And I feel like it it's such an underappreciated thing to do, especially now, like with my graffiti background. We used to trade like canvases or stickers and stuff. Like we would hand draw stickers and trade them. And it's like, man, I really want to do something to have somebody go, holy shit, that was dope, you know? And we always just try to do each other like a friendly competition type of thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
he did something really cool for me, so I'm gonna like do something even better for him as a
Yeah,
thank you.
it's that one-upsmanship that's still like it's friendly though. It's not like
Yeah.
you're trying to create this like, oh, I can do something better. It's more like, oh, okay, you inspired me to do something a little bit like more out of the box. Which again,
Yeah,
like to put over again your artwork, like now I'm putting up on the screen, you guys can see like a Michael Myers inspired like artwork here, and it's like it's very out of the box, but it's like it makes you think, man, like how would you think of something like that, you know? Like it's crazy.
huge like horror movie fan. That's a thing about me. So it's like every time I see like a horror movie, I want to draw it. What I've been doing lately, I've been posting some of it. I bought like these little trading cards. Like they're blank.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
literally drawing paper the size of baseball cards.
Okay.
And I just drawing horror movie characters, strictly horror movie characters. And I'm trying to build like a collection just to like put it out there for no reason whatsoever other than I like horror movies. And that's how that Michael Myers piece came out. I remember, I think I was watching like the Rob Zombie Michael Myers
God.
movie or something.
The bad
time.
one?
Yeah. Listen, it's like it had a lot of like great parts, and then there's some of them you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then we just don't talk about the second.
No.
just don't.
Like I love horror movies, don't get me wrong.
Rob Zombie.
I love horror movies. I feel like Rob Zombie had his like shine. Like he has great movies, don't get me wrong. I like Rob Zombie. But
Yeah.
Halloween is John Carpenter. Like there's no way to look at it other than like
No, absolutely.
I again, like Rob Zombie has his style, but what he did to Halloween, it's like like I saw this
mind scratching.
yeah, I saw this argument today. Someone's like, "Oh, you guys don't look at Rob Zombie's Halloween the right way." I'm like, "What right way is there? You created Halloween. It has a already storyline. We all know how Halloween is supposed to be. Like, there's
I always get very iffy with remakes too, like in general. Like
No.
For example, the Freddy Krueger movies, like the original Nightmare on Elm Street ones are great,
Yeah.
and then they did that remake that, I mean, it wasn't bad. I just, you prefer the original ones.
yeah.
Same thing with movies like Carrie. The remake was good. In my
That
opinion.
remake I didn't mind.
The original one.
That one I did. Yeah.
She had. And,
Yeah. I feel like the worst
really
remake,
love,
the worst remake still has to be the Child's Play one. And I've seen so many people.
we don't talk about that one.
Okay, good. At least we stand on the same ground then. Because I still say that movie ruined my childhood. Because Child's Play is like, I still say technically, Little Shop of Horrors was the original horror movie I ever saw. But even then, that's not really horror to me. I feel like Child's Play was that first one that I saw that I fell in love with. And seeing the remake, I'm like, nope. This isn't Chucky. This isn't what I grew up on.
I understand what they were trying to do with that one. They were trying to make it fresh, but I prefer the grungy staples in the face. Chucky. I mean, granted, I did see like the first ones. The iconic voice. Him just being an asshole and all that. Like, that's the Chucky I always just preferred.
No.
I mean, eventually, like, I felt like the Chucky franchise before the remake went from being a horror movie to like horror comedy. Because
I can agree. I feel like the thing with that was, I think they wanted to give Chucky a personality. Like, I've had this conversation about like the adaptation of Chucky, and I feel like it gave him some sort of personality, which again I felt like was missing in the remake. Because the remake, it wasn't a person; it was just the robot. And again, it was a great movie as a movie. Just don't call it Child's Play. Because it wasn't Child's Play. It wasn't Chucky. It wasn't like that style that we wanted. That the laugh was off. I can't hear that song anymore than My Buddy without being like, no, fuck you. That wasn't like, and even again, like, oh man, like Mark Hamill, I feel so bad for hating him for this movie. Like, it's Mark Hamill. But no, it felt like he phoned it in. Like,
it's like, I feel the reason I didn't like it, like a lot of the things you said are absolutely true, but I feel like they tried too hard. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's they got a concept, right?
Okay.
And they're like, we were gonna make a brand new Chucky. We don't want to make the old Chucky, but at the same time, we're trying to keep Chucky. And they just went about it the wrong way. Like, overall, it's not a bad movie.
No, like I said, it's as a movie, it's good. As a movie itself, it's good.
It's one of those movies that, you get around with a couple of friends or whatever, and just to hang out. You watch a movie, you talk about it or whatnot, and then you never see it again. It's one of those movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it wasn't a bad movie, but it doesn't have replay value.
No, definitely not.
But that's just me.
I think I saw it. I saw it opening night with a few friends, and that was the last time I saw that movie. Like, I haven't even wanted to watch it again because I'm like, nope, not worth it. Not like.
Yeah, it's especially with all the other cooler stuff. Like, I get a lot of like controversial conversations about this specific horror movie franchise. You either love it or you hate it, and it's the Conjuring franchise, which I absolutely love. I love everything about, from Annabelle, the Nun, everything. Hey, I even like
it's funny.
I mean, of course, that may sound
it's funny because as a Latino, like, we're taught to be very, very afraid of that kind of stuff, just because we believe in the spirits. Like, I'll admit this on air here. Oh. I still sleep. Like, I can be uncovered completely. My feet still have to be covered. Because we're taught that they'll pull you from your feet.
Your feet, yeah.
Like, I still, like, to this day. And it's like, I could be, again, uncovered fully. Like, I'm just laying there. My feet have to be covered. And it's like, that series of movies, I love it. But I still start thinking about, shit, we were taught about, like La Llorona. And, like, oh. Like.
El Cuco.
Oh, man.
I think Latino parents are probably the cruelest parents ever. Like, for many reasons. Like, ask any Latino, you don't want to piss off your mom.
Nope. Nope.
And then there's the whole, hey, you better behave or this guy's going to come get you. Or, hey, you better go to sleep because the guy under your bed's going to pull your feet. Or, and it's like, why would you tell that to any kid?
Yeah.
But, that's how we were raised, man. That, like, you can't be a Latino if your parents didn't threaten you with some make-believe shit.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think that's why every Latino is kind of a horror fan. Because it's like, we were just scared out of our minds as kids. That's like, you can't scare us anymore. I'll laugh. Like, I've watched horror movies, and it's sad. I laugh sometimes at the way they kill people. That's like... that's like,
and I cannot stand Final Destination movies because of that reason. I can't. I can't sit there and be like, oh, this is a horror film, because I'm cracking up that whole entire movie of how ridiculous these people die. Like, oh, I dropped my cup and that triggered a flood, and then a lightning bolt struck the guy, and then it's like, what? How the fuck?
See,
Like,
the
I can't.
first one freaked me the fuck out, just because I feel like a lot of that could possibly happen. Like, every time I'm on a highway and I see like a truck with wood, I'm like, nope, I've seen this too many times. Go,
Like, I saw this somewhere.
just go. And it's like, but yeah, like horror's another thing. I think you would agree too. Like, it's a different type of art form, right? Like, you would see how that media form is very like, it's outlandish so much, but it's like, that's what brings you in. Like,
yeah, there are small little details in a horror movie that I look forward to be like, shit, that was good. And I call it like the jump scare factor. Like, if that shit makes you jump, like, especially if you're like a horror movie aficionado like I am, and that shit still made you jump, that shit was good. And I like some scenes that it's obvious that something's gonna come out, but then it like does a minor twist, and then something else comes out, and it still scares the shit.
And that's what gets you, yeah. Because sometimes I feel like you expect certain things. Like, after you've watched so many horror movies, you're like, okay, I know what's about to happen here. Oh shit, I didn't see that one coming. Like, you start like, oh, okay. But it's like, you want that.
Or sometimes
you want that abstractness of it.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a bit of technique that goes along with it, because I've seen like some really bad like indie films where they overdo it with the killing and shit, and it just gets like, okay, yeah, it's not, it just looks gross, but it doesn't look good,
No.
And so I feel like it's an art, there's just specific little things in horror movies that you have to look into that you'd be like, shit, that was awesome,
No.
like. And I feel that that's where the line's drawn, like directors and stuff. Like, that's what makes a good director to me.
Yeah.
Like, if I know a specific director did a specific movie, it's it's a good movie to watch.
No. I feel like I always look at that like with Tarantino movies. Like, if I know Tarantino's behind it, I'm watching the movie, no matter what the title is. Like, it's gonna be a good movie.
Like, for me, my director's Guillermo del Toro.
Oof.
Again, that sounds incredibly biased because he's Mexican. But it just his resume, like, every movie that he's done, 9 times out of 10 is a good movie.
I'll definitely give it to Guillermo del Toro, to Robert Rodriguez, there's a lot of, like, again, the Latino culture has created a lot. And 9 times out of 10, though, it doesn't get that recognition. It doesn't get that recognition that it truly deserves. But hey, even in like, to go fully into that media, like, the actors, like Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, like, there's a list you can go down of just like a legacy created in film. Yeah,
and
like,
not only just like that, the presence in comic books is also like coming out too. Like, yeah, they're fictional characters, but at the same time, it was an art form where 9 times out of 10 it was your generic look for super.
Yep.
And I feel like now, even in comic books, like for example, Miles Morales has been making a lot of buzz. Like, he's half Puerto Rican, but there's that Latino boom in your face, which
finally, though, like, it's still like, you want that. I don't know if you saw this. There was a conversation now about the origin of Groot, and Groot, technically, they were saying now he's not an alien. He comes from Puerto Rico. They're trying to create this huge theory now that technically the origin, I don't know where they got this, but like la ruta de, like, Groot is very like stemmy. So one of the stems began in Puerto Rico, they say. To me, that would be awesome just to think, hey, like, okay, we get another one. we get a tree, hey, at least. But it is great to see that representation.
there's also this superhero, like he's more of an in the obscure side just because he's fairly new, like he's probably like 2 years old tops, called Sideways, and for DC Comics, where he is first of all, he is totally a Spider-Man ripoff. And this is coming from the guy that's more biased towards DC. But it's a Latino character, which is, fucking +1 for me, like
hey, we take the win. We'll take the win.
Yeah.
Like
the new Blue Beetle, he's also Latino, like it's just so many cool characters and stuff coming out that it's like, finally, we have one.
Yeah.
Like we have one.
Hey, let's even going into like the movies, the Marvel movies. I feel like most people, if they talk about Ant-Man, they're more focused on, like, sadly, not even Paul Rudd. They're focused on Michael Pena being able to tell these amazing stories. Yep. Like, if you've not seen Ant-Man, what are you doing? Like, that's a hilarious movie. But just listen to Michael Pena break down these long-winded stories, and you'll die laughing. Like, someone said Michael Pena just has to narrate what's happened in 2020 and just be like, yeah, so it all started with a guy eating a bat.
A bat.
And then it just went downhill. Like, but...
I think my theory started when Jushin Thunder Liger retired. Yeah, think about it, dude. Jushin Thunder Liger retires, then all of a sudden we get we're in quarantine.
It's you know what I think it was? It was Liger retiring, and spoiler alert, if you've not watched Endgame, what are you doing? But I think when Tony Stark died, that's what like ruined us. When Tony Stark died, that's it. That was a real snap of just like, yeah, now we're really gonna die.
Thanos really hit like every universe with that snap.
Oh man! But speaking of like comics, I'm gonna transition here into another one of your amazing artworks that is very Thundercats inspired. Like, I was like trying to look at it earlier, like, what is this artwork? And then I'm like, oh, it's Thundercats. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Artwork, and I remember we got together and we like swapped books for the day, where I was drawing on his, he was drawing on mine, and then when we finished, he's like, dude, what are we gonna do with the rest? I was like, yeah, we should just do a Thundercats piece, because we both like, we're very big nerds, like old school cartoons and video games, comic books. The only thing he doesn't like that I do is wrestling.
Hey, it's not for everybody.
We were like, oh yeah. I always tell everybody that, like, if you look at my entire family, I am the only wrestling fan. And like they don't misjudge it or talk shit about it, but they're not fans. I'm like the only wrestling fan. I'm, marking out by myself to like everything in wrestling, and they're like, okay. But yeah, it's like we did that piece, and we've done other collabs, by the way, like throughout the years, but that one is probably the best one we've done because it's also the biggest one we've done.
Hey, it's an amazing artwork. Again, I'm gonna flash it here. Like, I'm a big Thundercats fan. Like, I got to watch a lot of the original stuff, and it's insane. Just again, like we talked about earlier, with even like, especially with artwork, like the little details that just make it, man. Like those little things that, again, like, and to me, I love like abstract artwork. So even like, I love the characters that you got in there, but just the little other like details to it, it's like, it entices me to the piece. Like, I'm big into that. Like, that's why I like my tattoos. Like, I'm very big into like the little details, but something that's like, you have to explain what it is in a sense. I love that about art.
Yeah, and I think my tattoo, that was the first tattoo I ever got. And like, I always tell everybody that, like, if you look at my entire family, I am the only wrestling fan. And like they don't, they Yeah, I find myself doing that all the time with graffiti, especially with my style of graffiti. Since it's 9 times out of 10, somebody that doesn't do graffiti is gonna ask me, "What does it say?" And it's like, "Oh, here we go." And a lot of people think that my graffiti name is Nemesis, even though the Nemesis name did come from graffiti. But it's Nero 3, Nero number 3. That is my graffiti name.
Okay.
Which, it was just something I came up with when I was 18, and it just stuck.
Well then.
I was thinking like, oh, the Emperor Nero, and I thought I was the shit back then, especially because I used to get a lot of like, like, oh my god, that's so cool, and and it gets to your head at one point, especially when you're young and stupid.
Yeah.
But it
gotcha.
just stuck, and a lot of people in the scene to this day, they still call me Nero.
Okay.
Like, that's my name in the graffiti world. Yeah, and it's like, all right.
It's your gimmick in a sense.
Calls me Danny, like, what?
It's a gimmick in a sense.
Yeah, the gimmick part really is the Nemesis part. Though.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that I started calling myself Nemesis because, wrestling and you need a gimmick and no, I've been Nemesis for over 10 years,
Okay.
And that started when I was doing like graffiti heavily, like, we were, shamelessly tagging up the place and everything, and at one point we were doing what we called the black book competitions, which is basically like the sketchbooks,
Okay.
Black covers, therefore we call them black books.
Yeah.
And we were just competing who would do a better piece. And at one point I was quote unquote undefeated. Like I think I won probably like 6-7 of those little one-on-one battles or whatnot. And people were like, "Oh my god, that's the guy you need to beat. That's the competition right there. If you can beat that guy, you can beat anyone." Like, there were just people just gassing it up. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like, in the end of the day, we're drawing for fun. And so one guy said like, "Yo, that guy, that's the Nemesis. That's everybody's Nemesis." And I was like, and I just started calling myself the Nemesis because I was the guy to beat. And,
hey, it's a good ring to it. Like, funny enough, I feel like it works for wrestling. Like, it fits that like aesthetic of wrestling, and it's cool.
Yeah, that's why I kept it, just because it sounded cooler than the shoot name. Like, and I just started using it really. Like, it was like my Instagram handle, and and there's just so many reasons why I kept it too. Like, I'm a big Resident Evil fan, and Resident Evil 3.
See, that's where I thought you got Nemesis. That's where I thought you got it from.
It's part of why I kept it.
Okay.
It is probably one of the reasons I kept it, just because I wanted that feel to it. Not really because I think I could defeat everybody. I just kept it just because. That there's this like death metal band I like called Arch Enemy, and my favorite song is called Nemesis. And I always say, like, if I ever come out to an entrance song, it's probably gonna be that one. And just because the name Nemesis is there, and then that went to the logo and everything, and and that's just like the name I'm using. And a lot of people thought I was, like, back in the day, that I was going to use, like, the graffiti name, or the tag name, like, which is what we call it. And, I'm very happy I did the jump from graffiti to pro wrestling, just really because although there were good things in graffiti, there's a lot more toxic stuff. I always tell people, believe it or not, there's more toxic shit in graffiti than in wrestling, which it's a lot to say.
That's okay. That's a story for another day.
Another whole.
Yeah, but to segue away from the negative, I have to merge the two here with the graffiti and wrestling. To another great friend, the Neon Ninja himself, Facade. Like, we kind of started talking about this off air But you said you had a story to tell. Can we get that one as we start narrowing down here the episode?
So, it's the way we met. Like now we talk, often enough, and he was booked in a VXS show last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And, I'm like, I've always been a Facade fan. And I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, I see you use graffiti as a gimmick. I'm also a graffiti artist from New York. And we legit talked nothing about wrestling. That conversation was just graffiti. Like, war stories, I guess you could call it, of our time, tagging up and all that. And I carried a New York City subway map in my bag for whatever reason. I don't know why I had it. And it was tagged up, from a lot of my friends, from, the graffiti scene. And I had an empty little space in that subway map. And he had a marker and he signed it. And, it was cool because it's like I have all these other graffiti artists, and now I have Facade in that map, which I thought was pretty awesome. And then we kept talking about graffiti and all that stuff. And he goes, "Hey, I don't know if you collect ringworm gear, but he takes off his armband, the neon colors that he wears in his arm, and he gave it to me, and I was like, oh shit, this is really cool. And now we just every time we see each other, 9 times out of 10 we're talking about graffiti, which it's cool to see somebody, both universes, how you say, merge to one person.
Yeah.
And he's such a humble dude. Like, shout out to Facade, love the guy to death. But yeah, like ever since that day, like, it's all love every time we see each other, and it's a lot of graffiti talk.
Yeah, I remember at a Violence and Suffering show that we got to hang out at, just seeing him, and like it was funny seeing how you got like the fumes talk. Like it was just the funniest thing, like the graffiti fumes. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's a whole other.
It brings back a lot of memories. It's one of those things. It's like like when you smell coffee, you're like, grandma's house. It's like. It was a similar feeling to that, just because, I have a lot of great, like, memories from, like, my graffiti times. A lot of spray painting and the fumes. Yeah, it's one of those feelings. It's not really the actual smell, because it does smell disgusting, but it's a time.
It's that memory, like I'll attribute it, like, to wrestling. Like, if you've been in locker rooms, it has a very distinct smell, but it's
wrestling locker rooms are disgusting, but I get entirely what you mean. But it's the laughs, dude. The laughs, the jokes, the stories you hear, and it's it's a wrestling locker room.
Yeah, but it definitely is great. I'm gonna show one more artwork here that's very, like, I want to say, like, it has that Japanese style to it, very wrestling style. Here that you sent me, and I believe this is a shirt as well, right? This last one that has, it's very, I want to say different. Like, I'm going to take it off before it's viewed as something sexual on YouTube, because I know YouTube has its little regulations, but it definitely is great. Yeah. I can see the, like, Liger inspired mask. I want to say I'm getting the Liger vibes, or am I off?
No, it was more like I tried to do something original.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to, but it was more like a little bit of Liger, a little bit of Juventud Guerrera. But I guess the main goal for that one design is I wanted to combine the 3 things I like the most, which is comic books, heavy metal, and wrestling.
Okay.
And of course, there obviously the graphic nature of the design comes from a lot of the heavy metal scene, the comic book art also. Have you ever read any of Wonder Woman from the early 2000s? it's that feel. Like
No.
it's like I don't know what I'm looking at, but I like it because it reminds me of these three things.
No.
That's why you have like the death metal top that says, Nemesis, the lucha belts, the pasties, the wrestling masks, and it's just a mix of all three. That's what I was going
Yeah.
for. And a little spoiler alert: the next design that's coming out hopefully soon, it's a similar idea, just not graphic, I guess you could say.
Well then.
It's I'll just say one word: Hurricane Rana.
Ooh. Well then,
Yeah.
guys, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Another little gem there on the show here. So you have to stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. But again, as we start rounding down, Danny, I'm happy that you came on. Again, I really want to just reconnect with the cultura again during this. Just because I feel like, again, we all know each other a lot of the time. Like, a lot of us are very connected, very good friends. But we never really sit down and really look at how great it is and how, like, fortunate we are, Like, it is something that this business has brought a lot of us together. And I'm just glad that a lot of them have been friends of mine now. Like you, like Hoke. Sophia's newer to the pack, but again, she's been adopted as another wrestling sister. She's great. And it's just like, it's little by little.
And another thing that I also enjoy seeing is like earlier you mentioned how there's not a lot of Ecuadorian presence in wrestling.
Yeah.
And I also feel like cause I'm only half Mexican.
Yeah.
I'm half Dominican too, and I feel like, especially like in the Bronx scene, like in BWF and all of that, we have like Dominican Republic is also trying to show a presence too, which is great. Because, we do have a lot of Latinos in wrestling, but we everywhere, Latin America, South America, there's a lot of us, a lot of different countries, a lot of different cultures. And like one day I would just like seeing more, more of everything, of everywhere, just representing la cultura, you know what I mean?
No, definitely. And I feel like that's the little bit of a grime that I have with wrestling, especially that usually people only think, oh, if you're Latino and in wrestling, you have to be Mexican. Or if you're Latino from New York, you have to be Puerto Rican. Which, no offense to it, because, again, I am half Puerto Rican, half Ecuadorian, but it's just the joke of, like...
You want to see everything.
You have to get a little bit of everything because we are more than just a few countries, a few parts. Latinos are a lot of, like... I'll attribute it to, like, flavors of ice cream. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of, like, look at, again, like, I'll put the thumbnail back up. That little graphic there of Hispanic Heritage Month, there's a lot of flags there. There's a lot of representation. And I feel like in wrestling itself, there are those people. But I feel like little by little, we have to shed that light. Like I said, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are more Ecuadorians out there. But as of right now, that mainstream, there's 4 of us, if that. So we definitely want to get more of those out there. And just in general, Latinos as a whole, winning is the best thing for us. Because that to me is just making sure that we do get that better light. I hate when you just see like the negative. It's like we can be in a good light as well. And especially in whatever genre, if it be wrestling, if it be art, if it be media. And it's a great thing to see. And I'm proud to be Latino and just have so many other ones around me that are doing the same and doing great things. And I think the best way I want to end this is because, especially for you being on the show, is your thoughts on wrestling being an art form. Would you agree that it is, in a sense, an art? Because how I view it as a student of the game, I've always said, like, how do I try to explain to people? Wrestling is an art, but it's a visualization of combat. That's how I look at it. Because art to me is visualization of something. If it's an idea, if it's in media, it's a film. In wrestling, it's the visualization of combat. You're trying to create combat here, but the canvas is the ring, basically.
Yeah. Now, art is a very general term because there's just so many different forms of art.
Yeah.
And I feel that wrestling, like a lot of different forms of art are involved in wrestling, from like, the gear that the wrestlers are wearing. That in of itself is an art form. To music, their entrance music, their entrance video, the actual recording of the show, the acting, the promos, and whether it's scripted or not, it's that in of itself. Like, that's a talent not a lot of guys have, and that is an art in of itself. The being able to speak, the being able to move a crowd, it's a performance. Like, if you go to any theater show, you want to get a reaction from the crowd. You want them to clap at the end of the, whether you're singing or you're acting or you're reciting, whatever. And I feel that wrestling is probably, and this is going to sound incredibly biased because, I'm a wrestling fan, but I feel that wrestling is the top art form because it has so much art in it to begin with, and then on top of that, you have your athleticism, because I also consider it a sport. Whether a lot of, like, it's a very controversial topic, whether you want to consider it a sport or not.
It is. You know what I feel
sport.
like?
It's
here in the States, sadly, I feel like we're the only ones that don't view it as a sport. Because if you go everywhere else, especially in Latin America, it's viewed as a sport. If you go to Mexico, it's viewed as a sport. If you go to Japan, it's viewed as a sport. If you go over to England or the UK, it's viewed as a sport. And it's like, I'll agree with you in a sense that wrestling is a conglomerate of all forms of art, because you have media, you have that acting skill, you have the dramatization, you have a lot of stuff in there, and then it has its own unique elements. But I know it's still a touchy subject for some that would be like, oh no, it's not the top art form. You have this, you have that. But hey, it's whatever you enjoy. I feel like, I just had this conversation last night with Logan Black, and it's like this. End of the day, don't be negative toward what people like. Let them enjoy what they like, and you enjoy what you'd like. And
the beautiful part of wrestling is that it has so much different styles and genre that there's something for you.
Definitely.
Whether you like lucha, whether you like the catch me if can catch, or if you like puro, you like deathmatch, you like comedy wrestling, there's something for you. And by all means, but in the end of the day, it's all pro wrestling, and it's all meant for our indulgence, really. And man, I love wrestling.
Same, man. And again, I'm glad because of wrestling, I've gotten to meet people like you, man. It's an honor to call you an hermano. And I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. But unfortunately, because of some time restraints, we do have to start pulling it down, because if not, we would sit here for another 3 hours. And that definitely could be saved for a part 2. Because I think this is what the biggest thing with the roundtable I've brought is, whoever I bring on, I definitely am going to bring back. Because this is not just, again, these aren't interviews. This isn't me doing a podcast. I'm having conversations with genuine friends of mine. I want to do this so I can bring people back and just continue to have conversations. Today, we spoke a lot of topics. Next time, we'll probably talk about a whole other list of topics, and we won't get tired of talking. So thank you so much, Danny, for coming on. If people want to find you, where can they, hermano? Where are you on social media?
Well, right now I've only been on Twitter, but I am going to do my return on Instagram. So keep an eye out. My Instagram is Danny your Nemesis.
Okay.
Pretty self-explanatory. And on Twitter, Danny Nero 3. No, it's Danny Nero 30. I never remember my Twitter.
Either way, guys, it will be in the description below. Just like every content creator, I try to put everything down below so you guys have it a lot easier. And there's no excuse to not go follow the amazing guests that we have on. But guys, thank you so much for watching the 7th episode of the Laws Roundtable. Stay tuned because a lot more content is coming. As always, if you like what you see here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with the friends, share with the family, share with the pets because those pets might want to see too. You never know. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can do so at Ray_Ramundo. That is on Instagram. That is on Twitter. If you find me on Facebook, just don't be weird. Just that's all I ask. Like, especially for the wrestling community, just don't be weird. Don't be weird. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go support Danny as well with the amazing artwork. And definitely, if you want some artwork, hit him up. Like, I'm definitely, like, after this conversation, we're going to talk about something that might come to the channel soon. I might need to get something made by the Nemesis himself. But your guys are not going to be able to hear that. That's a hush-hush conversation. But, thank you guys. Stay tuned for the next one. And I'll see you guys. Peace, follow the law, and, oh wait, shout out to the girl, April, #wash your ass. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.